All right, you guys, welcome back to the podcast. Got two special guests with me today, two of my good friends from the martial arts. We got Mallory Woods, one of the hardest working guys in the entire sport, and Craig Harrington, all the way from London, England. And we are going to be talking to you guys. We're going to be nerding out over some Star Wars because it is definitely a good time to be a Star Wars fan. So we're going to get into heavy spoilers. So if you have not seen The Mandalorian Season 2 yet, you better, pause this, book 8 hours of your day and watch it all the way through. Binge it if you need to, because it is some just quality stuff. And we're going to be kind of going over that and kind of getting into the future of Star Wars on Disney Plus and how we kind of see and feel about it. So, Mallory, I'll throw it off to you first. So, what was your kind of like initial take on Season 2 of The Mandalorian?
So, thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. And, it's funny because I can actually hear Nick now calling me a nerd because I can never talk like this around them when we're on our trips and everything. Yep. So next time we're all in the same place, next WKC, we just got to powwow and just totally go to town on this. I'll get called a nerd, blah, 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 this and that. So, yeah, whatever. This is my time. But so this Season 2 of The Mandalorian came around at the exact right time for me because obviously you didn't get the same number of shows where there new shows are coming on TV. There are no movies, So it was something I was really looking forward to. You think about it, there were a lot of things that were supposed to happen in terms of Marvel and everything else, but got delayed because of the coronavirus. Understood and everything, but Disney had already had this in the can and they were finishing up special effects, so I could not wait. Now, my love of this series is both a double-edged sword because we've gotten Netflix spoiled. And this is what I mean by that. When something comes out on Netflix and you're like, oh, I got all 8, 10, 15, whatever episodes, and I can just pop. You can just watch them all at once. Well, Disney Plus makes you wait. So it's a bittersweet type of thing. However, I knew that when Friday rolled around, there were a couple things going on Friday. I'd finish up work. I usually have a soccer game about 7 to 8 o'clock at night. And after soccer, I'd shower, have dinner, and I'd sit and I'd watch Mandalorian. And it's going to be, even though the episodes were 30, 34 minutes, 42 minutes long, it was a short show. I could not wait for it to come along because of what we saw last year and what we had led to. You got a great cast. Carl Esposito is one of the, I don't know if I'm more scared of Carl Esposito in this or in Breaking Bad. We take your pick. I'm really scared of the guy either way. But there was so much like, oh, what are they going to do this season and everything, which we're all going to get into. But I could not wait for this to get back. And once it came back, it was great. The only fear I had that once you start the first one, you know that you only have 7 left. Yep. And then there's 6 left and there are 5 left. So it's bittersweet in the fact that you can't wait to watch that last one, but yet you have to watch it because it's the last one you're going to get until next year. So I was glad it came along at the right time for me. And I mean, they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, it was great to me. So what do you think, Craig? What was your kind of overall impression or take of Season 2?
I think I would actually say it's probably the first time since maybe Game of Thrones I've had looked forward to a show that much where you're spending part of your day in the week going, oh yes, 2 more days to Mandalorian. Yes, I think obviously it's a bit deeper than this, but at the beginning of this season, I did think that I was like, where is it going? Like they had a couple of episodes to start with that didn't really correspond with the overall storyline, and then the egg thing with Yoda was a bit weird, but excluding that, I just thought it was absolutely it saved for me personally. It has just saved and fixed so many of the things I thought was wrong. I was ready to give up on Star Wars after the most recent movies. It's just they just killed me. The last one I could have left 10 minutes in, but this is reborn. I feel like a reborn Star Wars fan.
Yeah, kind of reignited those passions.
Yeah, 100%. Man, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. If I could, I would go out dressed as a Mandalorian every day.
It would be in fashion. Your face is covered. Think about it. Yeah, it's perfectly acceptable. You see a lot.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a question for both of you guys. Since I'm a little bit older than you, what was your first Star Wars experience? And then once you tell us that, same thing to you, Craig.
Mine was, I think my parents showed me A New Hope when I was 7 or 6.
Now, was that VHS or DVD?
VHS.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was, I believe that was 2 years before The Phantom Menace came out.
Okay.
Good times.
What about you, Craig?
For me, my dad is a big Star Wars fan. And weirdly enough, my dad has not liked The Mandalorian.
Ooh, interesting take.
I know.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But
Come
he is,
on.
yeah, he had them on VHS all the time, like from as back as far as I can remember, actually. Like he was a serious Star Wars fan when we were kids. Like, but yeah, he's gripe with The Mandalorian is the lack of death from the good side.
Okay.
And
dark
the
enough.
lack of he's just like I can't watch stormtroopers miss that many times. And when they do hit, they always hit the armor. Like
right.
he's only wearing a little bit of armor, and they never even in Return of the Jedi, like Boba Fett's what's it? His jetpack like triggers off, doesn't it?
Han Solo bumped him with the stick.
Yeah, he bumps him, but he gets shot fully in the back. At one point, I'm pretty sure he gets shot in the jetpack, and nothing happens. And I think my dad's just like he's picking out everything, absolutely everything. He's even picking out that the Dark Troopers were moving too slow. Like,
well, it's interesting. People have their, they'll have their. I'll take this. I don't like this. For me, since I'm owning you, I remember Star Wars coming to. It was a dual movie theater, so I had 2 screens, maybe less than a mile away from my house, and Star Wars was there. From what I remember, the entire summer. I know it probably came out in like May. Wow. I think it was May, the first original. But I remember it being there, and I remember seeing it, and it literally stayed in that theater for the entire summer. They did the same thing with Raiders of the Lost Ark, where it just stayed. And then they got to the point where they had 2 theaters. So it was like they're going to reshow Star Wars again, and then of course Empire comes out. By that time, everybody's on board. And then, of course, everybody's gearing up for Return of the Jedi. So it's a little bit different because you guys watch them at home with your parents.
Yeah.
Versus I was there for the theater. I remember actually standing in line and waiting to be admitted to the theater for this new, this new movie that everybody was talking about. You had to go see it.
That's crazy.
So I don't remember the price of the tickets, but I'm pretty sure we would all laugh at them now.
Oh yeah.
What it would actually cost to get in.
I mean, it got me hook, line, and sinker, man. I mean, it just immediately enthralled me as a kid, and like all I wanted to do when I was a kid, I either wanted to be a Jedi Knight, an X-wing pilot, and when I first saw Boba Fett and he was a bounty hunter, what I literally would tell like my second, third grade teacher when they ask you what do you want to be when you grow up, I would say a bounty hunter. Because in my head, I'm thinking, oh, I get a jetpack, sweet armor, and a blaster. Yeah, sign me up all day.
That's it. Now, those that were born a little bit later, you would be Dog the Bounty Hunter. So now you got a mullet.
I was so disappointed.
Craig, I don't know. Craig, do you know what show we're talking about over there?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
I was like, good. You know what we're talking about. Dog the Bounty Hunter. Oh, my gosh. But yeah, I can understand that. You're like, hey. And you think about it. He had the least amount of, in terms of Fett, the least amount of lines.
Mm-hmm.
In the entire, you really never saw him get to do all the alleged things, all the things that his reputation was built off of.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good they saved his character.
That's what you can go into with this season. You finally got a chance to see Boba Fett unleashed.
Yes. Yeah. So one of the things like I really liked about the series is, like my overall take, is obviously that, it was great, and kind of like Craig, like it really has kind of like reignited my passions too. Like I'm sitting around and just like thinking about these characters and where they're going to go off to and what their next, adventures and problems are going to be, and like typically when like a movie or a book or a show makes me do that, it's like, all right, this is great stuff. Like when I really care about all the background stuff that much. And it seemed like almost every episode introduced something like really cool for the fans. The only episode that didn't was like the second one for me. And I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of worried because like episode 1 was great. We got the reveal of Boba Fett. He survived the Sarlacc pit. And then episode 2, like it felt like a filler episode to me, and kind of like what you were saying before, Mallory. It's like, oh, there's only 6 episodes left. We can't be having that much filler. We got stuff to do. But after that second episode, man, it was just cool thing, just hitting all the plot points. So yeah, so we see Boba Fett come back at the end of episode 1, and then later on, I think it was episode 4 or 5, when he comes back with Fennec, the assassin from the previous season, and kind of like what you guys were saying, it really kind of like revitalized his character for me, because I don't think I know any kid who didn't think Boba Fett was the coolest Star Wars character, just on looks alone. He far and away, in my opinion, looked the coolest. But like as you kind of grew older, you think about it, man, he doesn't really do much in the movies besides look cool.
Right.
Yeah.
He's just kind of a background guy.
Yeah.
And remember, he was given a warning by Darth Vader that made you just think. He told him, like, listen, we basically want proof of death, no disintegrations. Yeah. And you're like, whoa, like, you mean like he just comes in and says he did the job and he brings in a pile of ash? Oh, what is it? And he has to be warned that if you're going to collect this bounty, you got to do this. And, immediately as a kid, I was like, disintegration, that means like there's nothing left. Thank you, Looney Tunes, for keeping me hipped up on what that word meant when I was younger. But it's like, whoa, okay, all right. And yeah, he's just standing around in Jabba's palace, just hanging out and getting briefed by Darth Vader, and that's all he does.
Yeah, he's
in
eye candy.
The worst way.
And then that where he was going to be slowly digested over the next 1,000 years, according to our Wikipedia C-3PO. That's terrible. That's
He literally didn't do anything, did he? Like, such a cool character to get like bumped. Yeah, literally nudged by Han Solo, isn't it?
Half
blind, recently unfrozen.
Right.
And he screamed as well. Is it him screaming?
They did put that scream in, which is like, come on, Fett's not gonna scream. He's gonna be trying to figure
edit that shit out. Like, you got Disney Plus and get rid of the scream.
Fett's not gonna scream, man. No, not my Fett.
Yeah, I tell you, man, when we finally get to see Boba Fett in action, oh my god! So it did two things for me. One, I mean, it lived up to all of his like extended universe stuff, because Boba Fett in the books, in the games, is a badass dude who no one wants to mess with, and everyone knows how badass he is. So it really showed us that, and we finally got to see what those gaffy sticks do, the Tusken Raider weapon.
Yes,
I've always loved the look of that weapon, and just to see him just smashing stormtroopers into bits was amazing to me. Like that was.
I think it was an added thing to show that the armor breaking and everything.
Yes.
That was an added.
It was good to see, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it was like, oh wow, it really made that like, man, this is a serious strike here. This is not your bow staff. This is something with some serious pop that's doing damage.
Yeah, there's never been enough of that either, is there? Really, every time they kill a stormtrooper, they just sort of just fall on the floor.
If you think back to Rogue One, that's like the kind of the most similar thing we had to that. In Rogue One, we have is it Chariot? The blind, force-sensitive guy with the staff.
Yes.
And like he just kind of like smacked him with the stick, and like nothing's happened. There's none of that like visceral look that Boba Fett has with that gaffy stick.
Mm-hmm.
When he's smashing this, so good. When it's like, my dad didn't like that instantly. Man with primitive caveman weapons fighting against people with blasters.
I have to say that, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because I actually had on, so this setup, this is where I do a lot of my work. Directly off camera here is a TV. So I sometimes will put on something, and I put on Rogue One last week. And during that scene, it's like I can have it on mute and I'm sitting there doing work. I have to pause and watch that scene as he takes on those troopers. And of course, I'm with the Force and the Force is with me. And he goes to, complete that last mission for us. That movie built so much tension. It built,
I love that movie.
And see, that's a movie placed in the series done right.
Yes.
Usually run in trouble trying to put things before, like making the prequels and making everything fit, because everything's not going to fit perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
But
that Darth Vader scene.
Iconic, man.
Speaking of, as we'll get there, look at the parallel between that and the last
awesome how they did that.
Of The Mandalorian.
Yeah. So after Boba Fett, like the next kind of cool thing we get, if you were a fan of Rebels and Clone Wars, we got to see Bo-Katan, and Bo-Katan, she was in Clone Wars, she was one of like the bad Mandalorians in the beginning. She kind of switches sides a little bit in the end, and in Rebels, she's pretty like instrumental in retaking Mandalore from the Empire, and she ends up with the Darksaber, which is the that black Mandalorian lightsaber, and like she's going to be like the ruler of Mandalore. And as we saw at the end of the last episode of season 1, Moff Gideon, he cuts himself out of the TIE fighter with the Darksaber. So people are like, "Ooh, man, he had to have taken that from her somehow." So how'd you guys feel about that? Seeing Bo-Katan and the other Mandalorians like actually working as a squad together. What did you think about that, Craig?
Man, I think it's awesome. Like, this is the stuff we've been waiting to see. Like, especially when you watch Clone Wars, because I don't think a lot of people haven't, and then they watch and they go, "Oh, who's that?" And like, "Oh, these awesome characters coming in," and you're like, "Look." I keep saying to people, Clone Wars, it's not just a children's cartoon. Like,
yes,
this is where all the good stuff is. And if you go into it, I had Craig from my club. I'm like, Craig, you've got to watch. He's like, who are these guys? Like, you've got to watch Clone Wars, and you can just find out, and you can see all the Easter eggs, everything. Like,
all
he didn't know.
place.
He didn't even know who Ahsoka was or nothing. I was like, look, just go back, watch this first, and then it will all become clear. And Rebels as well. And he's already finished. He's finished everything now. He's just straight in, all in. I was like, this is what it's all about. Like,
it is, yeah.
There's more. That's the best thing about it, isn't it? When you can dive back into all of like you said earlier, I love getting all of the background detail, all of the. I want to know everything about the world. I don't want to just know I want to know the population. I want to know how many I don't want to know everything. Like, I want to know how many soldiers are in each army. I want to know how many ships they have. Like, I want to know each kind of ship. Like, and I love that they've give that. I think Clone Wars definitely gave us way more insight into that stuff and introduce some characters, and even with the Anakin thing, because I used to be like, oh, Anakin just turned so quickly in the movies. I didn't really build his character, and then you get the 7 seasons of watching him like gradually. You can see, you know what I mean. So
Clone Wars fleshes that out a lot.
Yeah, I love that, and having like the whole, they can go in so many places now. They've introduced more of the like Bo-Katan and stuff, and I have no idea where they're going in terms of like the Mandalorian kind of scene, but I think it's going to be really exciting, man. It's great to have them, and they were good too.
Yes,
like their scenes were just epic. Like the first scene when they're out at sea was I was jumping out of the sea. It was awesome. Like, I didn't see it either,
Yeah,
I think it's perfect, man. It's perfect. Like, every single time they introduced a character from Rebels or Clone Wars or whatever, it was like I felt like they did it like just unbelievable amount of justice, like like seat jumping. I was like, Rachel, she has no idea who they are. But I'm like, Rachel, look. Even she loved it. She's well into it, so it's just like, even people that aren't, Rachel likes Star Wars, but she doesn't like know anything about any of the other stuff. But I can actually now start to talk to her.
Yeah, you can
this
take
when
her
we're
back
not
to
watching it.
shows.
Yeah, when we're not watching it, I'm like, Rachel, I want to talk about Star Wars. We were doing it earlier in the car. I was like, I got nothing to talk about. So let's talk about Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're in a good relationship.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the reveal of Bo-Katan and showing those Mandalorians and them doing their stuff? What do you think about that, Mallory?
So, obviously, I've been paying a lot of attention to this off season and everything. And one of the things that was really cool is that Bo-Katan was not only revealed, but played by the same actress who did the voice.
Saw that. That's awesome.
So that was really cool. And if you think about it, I mean, I guess as long as you fit the bill, you can play, because there was a lot of rumors, would Ahsoka be voiced by the same voice actress that did her during Clone Wars? So I think it was really cool. And the Night Owls who were hanging with her, and of course you had Sasha Banks from WWE fame, which was she did a better job than I expected her to do. I thought, so maybe she's just going to be background image, just doing everything. But no, she had a couple lines, and she made it, into she acted and looked like a Mandalorian. I think one of the more important things that they did was, and it's funny because they kind of addressed this in, I think it's episode, it was episode 7 or 62 when they went back and got Bill Burr.
Yeah.
And Bill Burr's talking to him about like, hey man, you're so rigid and everything, and we all have these set of rules until they don't apply. So one of the things that was a hard and fast rule of the first season was, is that really Pedro Pascal in there? Because we don't see his face.
Mm-hmm.
We see it one time during the whole first season. And then you find out he's like, listen, the armor told me this is the way. I'm not taking this helmet off. Obviously, he has to take it off to eat and drink and do other things, but he cannot show his face to someone that is not his clan. You just can't do it. So all of a sudden, you have this hard and fast rule. So the first time he meets up with this other Mandalorian, great. It's somewhat of a relief to see other people besides the first time he saw the Marshal. And what's the first thing the Marshal does? He takes off his helmet, and he immediately, just like, I mean, you think about it, it's almost like a religious practice.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't want to pull any specific religion here or there, but if you did something that's definitively against a religious practice in front of someone that's supposed to be, they'll call you out, be like, hold on, you're not a real, insert whatever word here, because you just did this. And you saw how offended he got. He was like, look, I will take that armor from you, or I'll take it off your dead body. One of the two, you know. And the Marshal was like, fine, look, dude, I'll give it to you. Help me go kill this giant worm. I don't care. You know, this armor helped me bring peace to the town. So when he meets other Mandalorians, and he's thinking, oh man, these are my people. And the first thing they do is go, and he's got to be thinking, what in the
Where'd you all get that armor?
Yeah, you guys are fakes. And I love the way they explain it. Oh, you're part of that faction. You're part of the Watch. And it was an easy way to kind of escape that. And obviously it sets up something a lot bigger later on. Easy.
Yeah.
But
it added weight, didn't it?
It added a lot of weight to it. And I think they played it for what it was worth, because that was like, this is the way, and we're gonna stay true to this and everything. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, I guess we can bend a little bit. We can make exceptions in a case. And it's funny because that entire conversation came with a scoundrel, a guy who's in prison. Like, listen, whatever it takes to get you to the end of the day, buddy, it's okay with me. And, you know, him telling you, I never saw your face. It's okay. I'll never tell anybody. You know? So you in a way, you're seeing Mando evolve as a character.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing that life is not always black and white. It's a series of grays. You have to be flexible. You can be rigid, but yet you have to be flexible in certain situations. So that's, you know, seeing those guys and how that collaboration of new characters, it worked out good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're gonna touch on that too in later seasons. You know about there being these different clans with different beliefs and stuff like that. You know, one of the things I thought was really, really cool too was, if you think about it, Star Wars, most of the stories we see are very, we'll call it like heroic stories, where it's typically like one or two people doing the action. And one of the cool things with the Mandalorians is you're seeing them like use like actual like really cool teamwork and like squad tactics and that kind of stuff. It looked really cool to see that, in a Star Wars film, because they typically don't really get into that like nitty gritty kind of things. It'll typically be like, Han Solo standing in a doorway, just, gunning down dudes, or, Luke Skywalker pulls out a lightsaber, blocks all the shots back and stuff like that. But, to see people, with blasters who, again, like, the stormtroopers typically don't hit anything, but to see like actual, like really cool elite, like commando soldiers doing their thing, I really like seeing that. I think it's something we don't see a whole lot of in Star Wars.
To kind of go to that point, the last episode that you saw, you had the All-Star Girl Squad. Hey, the Avengers did it first with the Lady Avengers, and then you had, if you watch The Boys, the girls taking out, Stormfront. They did it right. They were like, listen, we know we have two of us have jetpacks, two of us don't. We're walking on this. And by the way, all right, here's one thing I've always wanted to say. Whoever designs these spaceships and also Death Stars, what is it with heights, guys? Because, I mean, there's a fall right everywhere where you're going to fall to your death.
And hardly ever any guardrails.
No, there's like, do not step here. Listen.
Even Obi-Wan Kenobi and just A New Hope, when he's trying to turn the thing up, I was like, I would fall. I'd
be dead. I mean, listen, there was one time, we were in Vegas one time doing something, and we went to go behind the stage, and the guy said, wait a minute, before you go back there, I've got to outline this line. Stay to the right of this tape. And I was like, we're in the MGM where they do Cirque du Soleil. And he's like, stay to the right side. And I said, why is that? And as I walked there, I could see 3 stories down where they move all this stuff. And I caught vertigo for a second, like, oh, I'm so glad you put this here. I'm so far to this right line. I'm going to be hugging this wall like nobody's business. But in the Star Wars universe, you have these danger, fall, height and everything, but it helped us set up a great scene. As you mentioned, Ben, you have two people that can't fly and they're on this, which is this narrow plane, which is bad because there's nowhere to go. There's no cover. So a squad of stormtroopers could come out and mow them down. These two pop off and save them because of using that three-dimensional space there.
Yep.
So I agree with you. Seeing those tactics, this is a warrior race of people, an entire planet of people that think like this. It was great to see that type of strategy. Yes.
Yeah, they do such a good job with it. But yeah, like kind of what you're saying with like the heights and the railings. Like I'm sure the first thing Palpatine did, after Order 66, I'm sure Order 67 had to have been, we have to get rid of OSHA. Too many of these regulations.
We can't. We need some stuff where it's unlimited heights. Yeah. By the way, if you guys have never seen the Robot Chicken Star Wars, I'm talking about not only the specials but everything they've done where they make fun of this stuff. Mm-hmm. Like the guy that's down at the bottom, he's a janitor, and all of a sudden, two halves of Darth Maul fall down, and he's like, he's looking up like, what? And then later the Emperor falls on him. It's like, what is going on up there? Like, what is happening? But OSHA would not exist in the Star Wars universe. There's death at every stage. To go flip a switch, as Craig mentioned, you got to go out on this little tower, and for me, heights are a thing. So it's like my palms start sweating. Just talking about it, my palms are sweating.
Yeah.
Like, no,
I'm not a fan either.
If we ever get transported to the Star Wars universe, I'll make sure not to send either of you guys for the.
No, I need a fully fueled jetpack. Okay, that is the first order of business. So, and I'm not going to be like that guy that tried to steal it, which he didn't realize that Mando could remote control.
Yes.
Okay, hey, you want this? Go for it, buddy. Bye.
Yeah.
So and who knew that he could do that?
Yeah. So yes, so after we get to meet Bo-Katan and her Mandalorians, they end the episode by name dropping Ahsoka Tano, which
huge name drop.
Oh, huge name drop!
Yeah,
if you were a fan of Clone Wars or Rebels, man, like that really pulled you in and got you excited. And so, where I kind of started to worry, I was kind of talking to my friends like, oh man, like how many episodes is it going to take for him to get to Ahsoka Tano? Mm-hmm. And then 7 days later, the very first thing we see is Ahsoka Tano like cut a dude in half. And this was definitely one of the highlights of the show. Like one of the best episodes of the season, in my opinion. How they handled Ahsoka Tano. I thought Rosario Dawson just did an awesome job with the part. Mm-hmm. I know some people, like you were saying before, we're gonna, wondering who are they gonna get to play or if they're gonna get the original voice actress to voice her. But I thought Rosario did a really good job. The fights looked really, really good. That episode, it kind of had that like horror movie vibe, because they're in that planet with all the dead trees and just all the fog.
Just
for the white lightsabers. Yeah. So so we'll start with you on this one, Mallory. So what do you think of the Ahsoka Tano reveal? So
because of being so plugged in, I knew that they were going to get to that. In fact, there's a guy that I follow. He does the Emergency Awesome channel on YouTube, Charlie, and he was saying, I'm pretty sure that you're going to see Ahsoka in this episode because, and I can't remember the director's name, but he was the one who created her for the Clone Wars series.
Dave Filoni.
Thank you. And it's like, if she's going to show up, it's going to have to be this episode right here. And seeing that reveal, like, for example, I think it worked out really good for, as you mentioned, that whoever did those guys' real estate deal, they're like, yeah, this is a great place to build a fortress. I mean, like, it's totally in the middle of nowhere. That there's no forest cover, so you can see people come up. It's got some fog and everything, and you could have it for so many galactic credits. And I mean, unless you wanted a palace like you had in the Phantom Menace, this place was desolate and it was dark and it was grimy. But the one thing that really was a great background on it, Ahsoka's lightsabers are white.
Yep.
And it played perfect with that. I mean, like you said, somebody's getting sliced in half and they look so bright. And I don't know if they touched up the images and everything with that, but it was a perfect contrast that, that light against that dark for what the episode was. By the way, Dan Asatu's daughter was I don't know what her title was, but the Empress of the Fort. This is one of Bruce Lee's last students. His daughter played that.
Oh, wow.
I think Caitlin Deschelle did stunts in this. I'm trying to look that up right now to confirm
I heard that too.
Because
I think she did.
I got to see if it was that specific episode. So shout out to Caitlin for definitely getting an in and being part of such a great series. But that reveal of Ahsoka was perfectly done, and I especially liked her encounter with Mando.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas anytime you have quote unquote a good character and a good character, you sometimes have conflict because they don't know that either character is good. So you have conflict. They fight, they have some encounter, and it was really good. I think it was the first time for me seeing that Beskar will stop a lightsaber blade.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, directly bounce off of it. Because we had heard before, but we've never seen it. So I think it was very well done for her.
What did you think of that episode, Greg?
I thought, I was a bit worried. I was like, it's like always with things where you're like, they're going to introduce a character. But I was expecting her to be like 5 minutes of the episode or less, where it's just that brief. You get like I didn't know they were going to build on her like that much in one episode. Because to be honest, I literally thought that they were going to spend the whole episode looking for her, and then they meet her right at the end and leave you on like kind of like that cliffhanger. I didn't expect her to be there right at the beginning, like tearing shit up, like
literally.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
Oh, man, I not lightsaber. The fight she had with the woman in the fort was, I loved it. It was like a Japanese like samurai duel. It was so good. Like just the way they laid it out as well, where they're right by the little pond in there, and they're just on that little like footbridge. Oh man, like I could watch that back over and over again. I think that's one of the best like sort of like duels you'll find in any especially in Star Wars. Like there's been loads of great lightsaber battles, and that one was, and having there's the Beskar, like the spear was just so cool. And I was a bit worried they were going to kill her.
Yeah.
I thought she was going to die.
I had the same, I have to admit, it was kind of like a sense of worry, not like, oh, she, her name's on the marquee. She's not going anywhere. No, it was
enough.
Worry.
She'd said enough to send Mando on the quest. I think at that point, and I think she'd already told him about the taking him to the.
She did.
Yep.
So they could have taken her out. Like, there was no, obviously we now know that they're doing a series, but at that point I was like, they might kill her here. They haven't killed a main character except for the pig man in the first series. They haven't killed a main character for ages. They seem to survive everything. So I was like, this could be a shock, like where they bring her in for like, especially for any serious like Star Wars fan.
Oh, that would have been crazy.
To bring her in and kill her in one episode would have been
how heartbreaking.
Absolutely insane.
Oh, that would have been crazy.
And part of me was like, oh my god! Like when a woman started fighting back, like I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like she's doing well. She disarm her with one lightsaber as well.
Yes, she was able to take.
I was like, this is it. This is the end. Like I was like, they're gonna kill her in the first episode she's in. But I'm obviously glad that they didn't, because it's gonna be great. Like with her own series, I think that's just gonna be just insane. And they can go anywhere with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's an open book. Like they literally can do whatever they want. It's gonna be so cool.
Yeah,
it's a great character. Like,
yes, and like you were saying, the duel was very samurai-esque, and I love the parallels of that. You had the Eastern samurai duel at the same time. You had Mando and Michael Bihn's character doing the very Western cowboy. They're
unbelievable.
Gun hands ready to go to see who draws first. And I really, really loved that whole scene. Like, that was just brought together perfectly. And, George Lucas and all those guys even said, this stuff, they based a lot of this off of, some of those old samurai movies and old Westerns and stuff like that. And to see all that, really come together, that was, I think it's a really very fun scene to watch, very cool scene. I think it's a really beautiful scene to watch, man, when they're taking their stance,
Oh, love it.
Yeah, I do that. That's up there in some of my favorite Star Wars duels right there.
What else I think is cool is that Ahsoka isn't a character that if you're a casual Star Wars fan and I want to watch this new show, you wouldn't know about her, and it's just open, particularly for girls, I guess. It's just another cool character. Like, I think that she'll be more popular than Rey. As soon as they bring out that show, she's going to be like, even for like watching, like in the Clone Wars, she was obviously if not the main character, and it was awesome to watch like that. And I think it's just going to bring more people in with that, because her series is going to be, I don't know. I just think she's going to have a bigger fan base. Hopefully, for me, a bigger fan base than Rey and anything in the new movies.
Yeah, they got a lot of stuff they can dig into on Ahsoka's backstory and watching her grow in all throughout the Clone Wars, and then seeing what she does in Rebels for the bit that she's in there with that. And
where do you think they're going to go with the series? What timeline?
So I believe so. They've said that a lot of these are going to be in like this kind of current timeline, and so if you remember, she does a major name drop at the end of the episode. Because she says, "Where's Admiral Thrawn?" And so I'm about 99% sure. I think I read something that this does take place after Star Wars Rebels, and at the end of Rebels, Ezra and Thrawn, they kind of got taken by those whales. They got hyperspaced away to who knows where. So it sounds like Thrawn is still alive and he's out there, and she's looking for him. I assume we're going to see Ezra Bridger at some point.
Cool.
Sabine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think we're going to see
another Mandalorian. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, and I agree with you, Ben. You are right. It does contain itself, because Mando is going to. He has the ability to. Just as people have actually referred to it, kind of a Defenders type of way in Netflix, where he can go between other series, and then you're going to have those series come together in some great event. What other great event would it be than to defeat Thrawn? I mean, who is the new big bad? He's the new big bad. Yeah. I mean, you had Carlos Padillas' character, but now it looks like he's at least taken into custody after definitely throwing some potential daggers. Our character's way, but you have Grand Admiral Thrawn, who's going to be the big bad. While we were talking before, the character's name Dana Lee Inosanto played was Morgan Elsbeth, and it was confirmed. I did confirm it. Caitlin did do stunts in that episode.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, I can almost tell when she does that front flip, and I was like, "That's a Caitlin move." That is, that is what if you've watched her as many years as we've seen her out here. That it looks just like her. Yeah. Quick question for both of you guys.
Okay.
Gun to your head and got to answer right away. If you could pick an actor to play Grand Admiral Thrawn, who would it be?
Benedict Cumberbatch.
I have to agree. I knew you were gonna say that. Somebody's gonna say that. I mean, paint him blue and his calm demeanor and speaking very,
The thing that really sold me on that, I saw a video, I believe it was on YouTube, where they took his some of his scenes from Star Trek where he was playing Khan, and they made him blue.
Oh,
and I was like, oh, I can believe it.
That's a no. I mean, but I wonder if they can pull that off. I mean, I don't think we're going to see Thrawn for a while. I believe that they will allude, they'll tease him for Ahsoka, and then maybe at the end you will get an image of who's playing him, and then you can sprinkle him through whatever series, especially if he comes, quote unquote, comes back from the Outer Rim to where all this storytelling is taking place. For example, a couple things we know, and this is also kind of teasing ahead. We know the Obi-Wan series is going to be one season. We know the book of Boba Fett is going to be one season. So you have all these other seasons that could be going on, like obviously the Mandalorian is going to go on. You're going to get all these new ones that come in. So he can be sprinkled in without actually being visible. He can be a presence without actually being there, And then once you decide on what actor you want to play him, then great. You can definitely go from there.
Who are you thinking, Craig, for Thrawn?
That's a good shout. I'll go with you there. That's a good shout.
Yeah.
I've not really thought that deeply into it, but that would be.
His voice actor is Lars Mikkelsen. And he could pull it off too, I think. But Benedict Cumberbatch kind of has that face for it, I think, more so than Lars does. But yeah, that'd be my top pick for sure.
Did you see? They were talking about the guy from he plays the. You're gonna the guy the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
As Luke Skywalker.
Sebastian
Shaw, right?
Yeah.
To play Luke.
Yeah, and I was looking earlier, and they were doing like face comparisons, and literally
It looks pretty similar.
putting him in the scenes, man. Like,
Yeah.
and he wants to do it. That's one of the without doing CGI, the easiest ways to kind of incorporate Luke in some way into some more things as well. Like, but
well, that's a good segue into this next thing. So at the end of this episode, or kind of in the middle of the episode, she tells us that, all right, you got to take him to Tython, which is a cool shout out to one of the old Star Wars: The Old Republic games.
Was it Knights of the Old Republic?
Tython was in the Old Republic MMO.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And she goes, yeah, take him there. He'll reach out through the Force, and hopefully a Jedi will find him. So what did we all start doing? We all started thinking, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? So we obviously know who it was. It ended up being Luke Skywalker. But who did you guys think it was going to be, and who did you really want it to be if you could have picked? We'll start with you, Mallory.
All right, you should know by what I posted a couple weeks ago or a couple days back who I was hoping it would be. So one of the things I was thinking of, and obviously you go with the comic book / movie quote unquote rule, is unless you see a body, assume that this person could still be out there. So I was hoping for a Force lightning damaged, one-armed Mace Windu. And I'm praying to Baby Yoda, please let this actually happen. Because the last time we saw him, we actually seen he was thrown out of the window and out of the scene. Obviously, he's missing an arm. He would be missing his right arm, but totally survivable. And to even pour more fuel on this fire, a couple years ago, they did a Star Wars fan service thing where Sam Jackson himself asked, hey, look, bring me back. Jedis can survive great falls. Nice. So, and he's doing it by video. Before that thing was the only thing we could do. He was doing it by video, and you could hear the crowd just going crazy. And it made me think, okay, all right, so let's see. So, theater-crafted, Mace Windu's gravely, God knows what the Force Lightning did to him, but he's missing an arm. He's probably found out about Order 66. Just like every other Jedi, he would have had to gone in hiding. Mm-hmm. So it could have been him, and that's who I was hoping it would be. I was really hoping it was. I'm not too disappointed, but I was really hoping it was him.
Who are you thinking of, Craig?
Me too, Mallory. I was desperate. I was praying for it. I was going to bed every night thinking, please.
I got the text to prove it. He was.
I was literally every day. I was like, another day. Wake up. It's Monday. Let's hope Mace Windu's coming back.
it's like Mace Windu's Santa. Please, Mace Windu's coming to town Friday, please. If
I can ask for one thing, please, Mace Windu. And I agree with you. I've watched Jedis and Siths falling unbelievable distances for 20 years, 25 years. I know that they can survive these things. Mm-hmm. It would be cool. I still think they can bring him back somehow and something. But Ben put it well when he was like, what has he been doing? Why hasn't he been helping the rebels or something? Or even Obi-Wan, obviously, he wasn't really. I know he was in the Tatooine for ages, but he still came back and helped Luke and the rebels. Whereas Mace Windu but even Ahsoka as well, she wasn't really, you're wondering where she was during the.
You're gonna have to answer that question.
The rebellion.
Yes. What were you doing?
Yeah.
We're gonna use
it. But that's what I mean. They could definitely have linked Mace Windu back, and just giving him some bullshit assignment and just bring him back. Imagine him turned up. He could have really turned up as well. But we were let down. I wasn't let down.
Right, I still think that like you said, you could throw a nod or a bone to the fans where you have something. And he shows up there, but like you said, when you do that, you kind of have to open more of that book because it's like, well, where you been at? What happened? Yes. What's been going on? And sometimes that's not a perfect fit, but the good thing is they have time, and if they want to do something like that, even for one episode, you could look at how big of effect this show had. One episode, so it could be a major thing for just a one-time deal.
Oh yeah, could you imagine if they ever ended an episode with a shadowy figure cloaked, and all of a sudden a purple lightsaber ignites?
People would lose their minds.
That would be insane. But Ben, you put it when we were talking about it. He was like, Boba Fett would have been there.
Oh yeah,
Mace Windu has killed your dad.
Someone mentioned that's the perfect close to close that chapter for Boba Fett. He gets his ultimate revenge. So
in his ship, just blasting Mace Windu.
Then I feel cheated. Like, oh, come on, man, you couldn't even get,
Just as he's about to pick up the baby, bang.
You're like, oh no. Actually, I don't know if you guys saw that, but Carlos Esposito put out a tweet. He says, I have 4 daughters. And the scene where he's holding the lightsaber over Grogu, maybe Yoda's head, right? And threatening him and says, oh, you want this? And obviously he's too weak from using the Force and everything. And he says, I got 2 texts from my daughter's like, please don't kill baby Yoda. And he responds and said, I'll split his little elf-eared head wide open. I was like, this guy's truly evil. I like him. I really do.
He's born to play bad guys. Like he's on old English levels of being a bad guy. Like he would qualify with the old English people for that. Like
he nails it.
I'm looking forward to that when I'm 60, becoming a classic English bad guy. Like it's like a rite of passage.
If I could suggest one thing, Trent, please, top hat. Definitely top hat.
Yeah.
Maybe grow a mustache.
Monocle.
You could twirl a monocle. Yeah, they throw a monocle there too.
It's the only way. Yeah, he's on them levels. Like, I mean, he's played some real big roles, isn't he? But that one was another one where you're like, perfect for the role. Like,
if you think,
you couldn't imagine anyone else doing it. Like, yeah.
Well, no, you can't. It's just like, man, he's got it. But the way he does it is he's very calm.
Yes.
But he's very calm in telling you what he's going to do. And I think that's more scary than someone that goes nuts and like, I'm gonna rip out your whatever. No, he's very, very. And think of how Vader-esque he was. Black cape, a little bit of armor, and also with the voice of James Earl Jones, Vader never really yelled. He told you what he was going to do, and it was that booming voice and just directness that was more scary.
Yep.
Have you seen when they do the in the original movies when they show the actual audio?
And it's like, oh, I mean, and that's another Star Wars actor that we lost this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the original Boba Fett actor just a few days ago, the original Darth Vader actor, the bodybuilder, I can't remember his name right now, but his just hearing that audio was like, ooh.
Imagine if they went with that.
That would have worked.
There were so many decisive good moves that Lucas and company made that is like, oh, you know what? That's a good move. That's a good. But I don't know if you heard the story behind it. He didn't know that his voice wasn't used until he was there watching it with his friends. That's a dick move, but a necessary dick move right there.
Oh, an insult. Like,
yeah, I mean, think about it. The entire film, I guarantee you could not concentrate on it. He's like, that's not my voice.
It's like being in a music video, but it's not you singing. Like,
literally giving everything. Talk about totally surprised. Just like, he's probably dumbfounded the entire time. And his friend's like, oh, man, you sound really good.
And he was talking up to his friends saying how amazing he was. Oh, man, he delivered all these lines. I was so good. They loved it.
But like you said, Kirk, you go back, you can watch it with James Earl Jones on this screen and watch it with him. And it's just like, yeah.
Oh, that'd be a great special edition to put out. Oh, man, that would be.
Oh, just the Vader only edition?
Yeah.
Take out James Earl Jones dub. The original voice actor.
You would not make it past the third scene. You're like, I'm done with this. I can't.
Have you guys seen Snatch, right? The movie Snatch?
I've never seen Snatch. I've never.
You should watch it. Ben, have you seen when they do the Snatch bad guy voicing Darth Vader?
I've not.
They take. I'll share it. I'll share it to you guys. They basically take all of the quotes from Snatch, and they put it into they call it Snatch Wars, and it's just like a 7-minute video where it's just a guy Bricktop. He's from Snatch. He's the bad guy, and he is like everything he says in Snatch. They use while Darth Vader's like doing like real like important things in the movie, and it's the way they do it is perfect. It's really good. I'll link it. It's funny.
Oh yeah,
I was like, definitely. The only thing I could say that was definitely akin to that, a lot at these things we used to have called Comic Cons, they had a lot of the voice actors there. And one year they had the voice actor from the guy that plays Bender from Futurama. They had Tara Strong from Powerpuff Girls, Batgirls, etc., etc. You had the guy that played the Batman voice, and they basically read the opening scene to Star Wars, but in those character voices.
Oh, that's cool.
So Bender was playing R2D2. So imagine R2D2, please zip, but as Bender, and Tara Strong, who was playing Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls, but reading Vader's lines. So I will find that, and I'll also send it to you guys. It's worth a look.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I think you guys are both wrong. I was wrong with my my initial choice too of who was going to be the big Jedi reveal. So I originally thought it was going to be Ahsoka Tano, because I figured she's going to have a change of heart. She's going to be like, oh, no, you know what? I can train. Because I'm thinking, you're not just going to get Rosario Dawson for one episode. Like, like she put all that makeup on. That was probably at least 7 hours of makeup. This surely had to have been like, all right, we're giving her 2 episodes.
Yeah, let's get our bang for our buck. Let's get a lot of stuff done.
Yeah, but the character who I really wanted it to be, and like this is a niche Star Wars character. I'd be surprised. I don't know if you guys may know this on, but there's a character in the extended universe called Kyle Katarn.
I've heard the name.
He's from 2 video game series. The first one's called Dark Forces, and the other one was Jedi Outcast.
I've played that. Yeah.
Far and away my favorite Star Wars character ever. My favorite Jedi, and like all of the cool things that he's done has been relegated to other characters. Unfortunately, in the expanded universe, he stole the Death Star plans. So like, when the first Rogue One trailer came out, I thought Cassian Andor was Kyle Katarn. I was all excited. Like Kanan Jarrus is very kind of similar to him, and Harrison Dula is basically his co-pilot and actually uses the same voice actress. Kyle Katarn's voice actor was, or his sidekick was called Jan Ors, and it's the same voice actress for Harrison Dula. I was like, oh god, like, they're not going to use that ever again now. And I'm thinking, okay, they have the Dark Troopers. The Dark Troopers originally were from his games. I'm like, there's a non-0% chance. And if it would have been him, I would have been able to die happy. Like, all right, he's back in the canon.
Oh. Yeah, but it's interesting because of just mentioning that you canonize a video game, and there was even though I didn't like the game, the second Star Wars game, multiplayer game, just like a first-person shooter.
Battlefront.
Thank you. I could not think of it. Battlefront 2, the solo mission on there, they mentioned something that happened in Battlefront, or they mentioned a character's name, which all of a sudden it's like, well, that now opens up this character to be available in the series, or at least by mention. So by saying that, you've canonized it, and you could have people stroll in there just because of that mention. So we will see.
We will, yeah. There's still time. I'm still holding out for it. But we get Luke Skywalker. That's the big reveal. We see the lone X-wing come into play, and like that's where I kind of figure, it's Luke. And then they do like the little bit of reveal. He's got the black robe. Ooh, now it's the black glove, and you can see like the hilt of his lightsaber. And then as soon as he turns the blade on, it's the green blade. It's like, all right, yeah, this is definitely Luke. And like we get some of the best Luke Skywalker action ever, like you guys were mentioning before, the parallels between the 2 hallway scenes, the Darth Vader Rogue One hallway scene, and now we have the Luke Skywalker Mandalorian hallway scene. It was great, and like it really kind of like reignited that love for Luke Skywalker that I had, because like I'm not gonna say he did a bad job in like The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker.
But that's your last memory of him. So
yes, and it's like like I much prefer seeing this Luke, younger Luke, doing this kind of stuff in his prime, as opposed to angry old man Luke who's chucking lightsabers over his shoulder,
or drinking
milk straight from the teat.
Oh yeah, that's Matt could have done without this scene,
Yeah.
Could have done without any of them scenes. When he speared the fish, like, for no reason, from like 500 foot up in the air.
But you're right. And I went back, and fortunately someone has put those 2 scenes together, even to the point of Vader force choking the guy, slamming upside down, and as he's just slowly marching forward there, you see Luke crushing that Dark Trooper with the Force. Think about it. Let's see. Besides seeing Luke push and pull things, pulling lightsabers to him, pushing people away, you've never seen him use his Force abilities like that before.
Nope.
Where we perfectly know he's capable of it. Obviously, Jedi mind trick, telling people, and moving them out of the way. But you kind of got to see a little bit of Luke Skywalker unleashed, and where he decimates. And one of the best memes that I've seen this week is like, it's just a single X-wing, and then it was like, no, wait, it's only one X-wing.
Yes,
like,
yes.
wait a minute, like you went from like, that's funny, and like, whoa, this is bad for us, And you can actually see, if you go back and watch Carlos Esposito, how his fortunes change.
Yes.
He's got the little ace in the pocket. He's got the blaster down there. He's like, all right, well, at least I got this. And I'm starting a little trouble between these characters. And then it was like, it's next wing. He's like, oh. And then you see they're watching us. It's like, oh.
That's so cool when they do it like that as well.
It's such a reversal of fortune for him. Like,
and you know that he knows Luke Skywalker. He's had to have heard of him.
Absolutely.
Dude blew up one Death Star, killed Darth Vader and the Emperor.
You just don't skip town after that. It's just like, God, some dude just came in.
He knew he messed up on that point.
I mean, the impending sense of doom. He's just like, I mean, you literally had a Mark Ruffalo moment. You guys are so screwed now. Like just over and done with as he slowly marches in. And what is it with Jedis? They just take their time, man. The sense of their
that menacing walk.
That menacing walk.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something to be said about that. But still, how about you step it up a little bit? Like, get down here. We're all still trapped by these very bad Iron Men that are going to come in and kill us. And one of them could kill us. And
they're fortunate they turned around.
Now, do you think those guys, their armor was made out of Beskar? This is where all that Beskar came from. Do you guys think that as well? Because, no, Luke was slicing them in half. I was thinking of, no, that couldn't be it, because stuff was his blaster bolts were bouncing off, and when Mando was trying to shoot, they were just.
I swear there was something mentioned about that as well.
But Luke cut them, so they can't be Beskar.
Yeah, it probably wasn't Beskar, but probably some stronger type of metal. I mean, they have pretty strong materials in there.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
I think they call like Durasteel or something like that.
Right. I do like the way they said that. Hey, these guys draw so much power. We got to keep them in cold storage until we need them. And it's like, okay, all right, I can, because if not, you'll be like,
why aren't they everywhere?
Let's get the Dark Troopers all the time. Let's just fire back up.
Why do we have terrible marksman stormtroopers running around?
Right.
Let's get these guys.
It's when they flew back to the ship as well. That was just like, oh.
Yeah, I breathed a sigh of relief. Like, ooh, he got rid of one of them. He got rid of that one of his minutes. It was like, oh, those other guys have been flushed out, and then they came back like, oh.
Like, they're not human. They're not going to die out there.
Right. They just got their bearings and like, okay, we'll come back. We know where the ship is. We'll come on back. That makes me think of one of the questions that we did not get answered by this season, because we knew that he wanted Grogu for his blood, obviously for the midichlorians and everything else, which I thought, that has something to do with the Dark Troopers. But as the guy told us, they removed the weak element. They removed the human inside. Mm-hmm. So therefore, that blood has nothing to do with them. So obviously you saw the cloning, the failed clones. But what is the big plan now? Because
I heard it was something to do with Snoke, wasn't it? To link it together with Snoke being...
I could see that being in there, but it seems like that's got to be a bigger reveal. I was going to say that's still like a bad... It literally is a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kill that. Just make it its own standalone trilogy, and I'll be happy.
I think it's going to be one of two things. I think they're trying to create like force-sensitive troops. Mm-hmm. Maybe give them some kind of like lightsaber-esque type of weapon. Or it might be them actually trying to clone Palpatine, not knowing that he's out in whatever that planet is from the Rise of Skywalker, doing all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And in the original Thrawn trilogy, that's kind of part of Thrawn's big plan, was that he was going to clone Emperor Palpatine and bring him back. He ends up finding like this old exiled Jedi who's gonna basically implant Palpatine's like psyche into him or something to that effect. It's been a long time since I went into that, so I think it's gonna be something like that.
Mm-hmm. That's some serious loyalty.
Yes,
I want my students to do that for me when I'm old.
Like
bring it back into a young black belt.
There we go. Just make sure they're uber flexible for you, Craig.
So
kick over your head. But yeah, I think that the heir to the empire is what it does make some sense that that's what they're going for. There was somebody that also had something that was like burning questions like, okay, what was the original plan? And also think of other people that could potentially show up now. Mara Jade should be out there because
she was a great character.
She's a great character. She was in that part of Heir to the Empire. You mentioned a couple of video game characters. We got Sabine. We've got Ezra as well. Obviously Obi-Wan, but and Darth Maul too. You're playing hard and fast with those facts, but they're out there, and you can always create. Here's one that you probably haven't thought about: the librarian, the Jedi librarian from the series.
The woman.
They have, and I can't remember what it was. They said that she survived because she
did
mentioned. So she's out there, even though you're not going to exactly be running to her to help you with some military aspect. But you've got a lot of characters that could pop up anytime that can be weaved in and out of canon.
Yeah,
I love the Inquisitor as well.
Those guys too.
Yeah. There's probably some of those guys still running around.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
There's a game that came out. I think it was last year. It was a Jedi Fallen Order. Cal Kestis.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's alive and running around.
Mm-hmm. What about, was it Cad Bane? The bounty hunter.
He was a good bounty. He was a cool bounty hunter, man. He was cool. Yeah.
He could pop up,
He was a cool bounty hunter, man.
But also, you think about it, like, for what other purpose than a kind of glorified cameo do you have these people pop up? Because like you mentioned, you had Ahsoka that's shown up, and it's like, man, she's here. But one episode, and then we find, future series, but besides them pop up, because you could have Han show up. Obviously, we had R2 show up.
Mm-hmm.
So 3PO's out there. So's half of the other people that you see in the original films that are out there that didn't die in Jedi. I mean, Lando's out there.
Yeah, Lando's still out there. Yeah, I was gonna say Lando's around. But
you gotta come in for the cameo, then they get their own Disney Plus series. That's the way to do it.
Which might actually be the plan.
It looks like the plan of what they're doing.
So
it would be so cool to.
That's a perfect segue to your last point.
Yeah. So a couple weeks ago we got it's 10 Star Wars shows. And some of them are movies, and we don't have to get into every single one because there's some of them that I just know nothing about, and some of them are set into some new timelines. But there's a couple of them that definitely they look like they really pertain to the Mandalorian timeline. So we have Ahsoka and Rangers of the New Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like those are going to be the two. Well, and then of course we have the Book of Boba Fett coming out next December as well. And what I think they're going to be doing is I think they're going to be doing an Avengers type of thing, but with TV series.
Yes,
they've proven they can make the model work with movies with the MCU. And people will stay invested for multiple years for a big, humongous payoff. And I think Thrawn and the retaking of Mandalore is going to be that big payoff. I think we're going to see Ahsoka is going to be looking for Thrawn and find Ezra Bridger. I think the Mandalorian is going to focus on him looking for some of his clanmates who survived, like the Smith.
The armorer.
Yeah, the armor. Yeah, she ended up surviving. I think they're going to bring Jon Favreau's character back, the one that had the big heavy blaster machine gun.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of, shout out to Jon Favreau, man.
Oh yeah.
I mean, jeez.
Why they didn't let those guys make the sequel trilogies, I'll never know.
I can see. I don't. The camera didn't have to be on Craig to see his eyes rolling back. I have my eyes, and I can see his eyes rolling back to his ears. Oh my God, what could have been?
It's true, isn't it? When you think about it.
But you'll
terrible
get more.
Selection.
You'll get more because you have half hour, 45-minute long shows.
What an unbelievable thing to achieve if they're bringing in characters for the general public. If you're not into Star Wars, you would never have if you're a casual viewer, you can become incredibly invested in characters that are basically side quests to the main movies. These guys
they bring you in. They bring you in bigger.
And if they do that MCU style thing, becoming unbelievable. Like you literally invested in a side story to that point where you're going to commit to it for years. And also, yeah, man. Like, and you think like you're sort of accidentally becoming a serious sort of Star Wars fan, because you're like, these are the stories that, you kind of go, oh yeah, do you like Star Wars? And they go, yeah, I like, like, oh yeah, I like Anakin and stuff. And you're like, oh, have you seen anything else? And they're like, oh no, I've just seen the first 6 movies or whatever, and you can accidentally become with this, if they keep going in this direction, there's not that much. Like Ben, you mentioned a few other things, like they talk about the novels and stuff like that, and things that people necessarily haven't seen, but you're going to become a serious fan of something, like you're a deep fan without even realizing that now, not far off everything about this sort of, like, it's like being like Lord of the Rings and knowing all that extra stuff that no one knows about, all them other stories and stuff. It's awesome, man. Like, if they suck people in like that, it's very clever. Like, you're going to get some like accidental super fans. Yeah. Like I said, Rachel's not a serious Star Wars fan, and now she wants to know all the stuff, and I'm like, this is stuff that no one used to care about. If I mentioned, like you said, Mallory, earlier, if I mention this in conversation, everyone's like, shut the hell up. What are you talking about? Like, exactly. You're so weird. You're so weird for knowing this stuff.
Dude, I quiz my students all the time on like Star Wars, and they know nothing.
Yeah,
it's so disappointing.
But you're exactly right. It's like people like, I would tell them something like, there was one time we were at some tournament, and I don't know if it was Jeopardy came on and there was a question, and it was something about Star Wars, and just bam, answered right away, and like Emily and Nick and I think Ryan was with us. You're like, how do you know? I was like, you guys don't know how much stuff I actually have in my head that it could have been $1 million question and you guys would have never gotten it. Yeah. And I can hear now Nick be like, nerd. I'm like, yeah, that's me. So
there's more of us than you think.
Exactly. And the thing, and it's funny because you mentioned that, like, it was the Game of Thrones kind of phenomenon and Marvel movies that all of a sudden being a casual fan, which sometimes leads to being a serious fan. It happened to me. I can think back when I was in middle school. I loved Spider-Man, and comics were 55 cents, so you can really go back and see how far that was. And I'm reading, I'm like, there's this guy Daredevil. Oh, who's Daredevil? Daredevil, I got to go buy his comic. Yep. And then I buy that, and I'm reading, and I see a guy in there that's another character. And next thing you know, I'm buying 20 books a month because you're invested in one character, and it just led on to something else and something else and something else. And this is how you make, like you said, you make fans out of casual fans, especially for a series like this. And because it's in the main light, everybody was loving the fact that they were Game of Thrones fans, and it was this, that, and the other. I'm like, but isn't that really just like Dungeons and Dragons, but with very highly paid, European actors? And no, this is Game of Thrones. And I'm like, okay, all right, well, it's the same thing,
Yeah. And 20 years ago, if you were talking about Dungeons and Dragons, people were giving you the side eye. Like,
oh, they were giving us the hearts. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
God, you must go out in the dark.
Yes, you have acolytes over your house every weekend, and But yeah, so now it's casual cool to be in these popular movies and series and everything. So yeah, I think that this is going to create more and more. Some of the deep cuts that you mentioned also, Bill, and then Andor, which you're going to see the guy from Rogue One.
Yes.
I can't. Let me see. It should be right here. I can't remember.
Another good actor. He's a good actor as well.
Yes.
Fantastic actor. Star Wars Visions, anime style episodes.
Yes. Yeah. And I think
that sounds crazy.
Yes.
There's the Acolyte, Star Wars the Acolyte.
So the cool thing about the Acolyte is, so the next big setting that they're going to be concentrating on, they're calling it the High Republic. And so this takes place like way back in the past, where like the Jedi and Sith are at their heyday. Yeah, I think this is going to actually follow a dark side Force user.
Ooh. Well, yeah, because Siths were acolytes.
Yeah.
And so the Padawans, you had acolytes. And then once again, flexing my Star Wars muscle. So that is going to, because the one thing that really got me was listening to the Darth Bane trilogy. And that was where the rule of two came from. Yeah. And a buddy of mine was like, have you ever heard of this? And I'm like, all right, let me check it out. And I was like, okay, that's very well done. And they've got their whole things, you know, or there's a Jedi creed and there's a Sith creed. You know, it was like it was all based on fear. My fear gives me strength. My strength will set me free. I forget that, but it's kind of like almost an opposing exact force, you know, and you can see just like Craig, you're teaching one martial art and I'm with you. And I'm like, hey man, I think we should teach sweeps. No, we never taught sweeps before. That's it. And I break off. And that's exactly what happened with some of these, you know, some people are like, hey, why can't we access these dark side, you know, these abilities in the force, because that goes down a path and it's almost showing fear. Like we can't even open that door because once you open it up, other things come with it, but I'm in control of it. I can do this. And you have all this stuff, but I like the fact that they're going back and doing that because like Knights of the Old Republic self and Dark Revan and things like that. It's like, oh man, some of these are really good.
Yeah, it's going to be a lightsaber fest as well.
That's, I mean, we could always use more lightsaber battles. Come on,
and that's the perfect setting for it. You know, like lightsaber fest in the Mandalorian, kind of maybe not the timeline for it, but back in their heyday, I think we're going to see just some awesome fight choreography, some great stuff. I tell you what, I would like to see
different lightsabers too. Would be cool.
Oh yeah, well, I'd like to see kind of like a show again, following like maybe a Sith or a dark side user, and they kind of get into some of like the weird things that the Jedi do. Because if you think about it, like these guys won't even train 9-year-olds. How young do they have to be?
Right.
Yeah,
How long? When
they're not letting them show emotions. Were they like raising sociopaths?
Yeah, their creed is weird, isn't it? When you think about it, it's not a good fit. It's not particularly good, is it? Really, they're like train you to be emotionless. Like,
a show that kind of like challenges like what everyone's normal perception of what the Jedi is. I think that'd be a really interesting way to do this.
I mean, one of the things, if you can take something good from the prequels, Qui-Gon Jinn disagreed vehemently with the Jedi Council. And it's like, wait a minute, I thought these guys were always in agreement. They would sit around and like, we must do this, okay? And Qui-Gon's like, no, we're not doing this. And he wasn't afraid to buck the system.
Yeah.
And you think about it, you could have 10 different people in and they could learn the exact same thing and be thinking about it completely different. There's going to be one guy that's going to say, hey, this isn't right. You know, let's do it this way. Maybe the other 9 will disagree with him, but somebody's thinking different. So yeah, like you said, to show this is all the way, they can't marry. You know, you and all the different kind of emotional suppression type of things. But let's look at it on the other side too. Let's look at the way the Sith looked at things. You know, why did they come up with the rules too? They explained that in the novels, but before it was a lot of backstabbing going on. You know, it was a lot of like you could be ultimately powerful, and these guys like, hey, me, you, and him, let's take this guy down. But that in turn weakens the whole Sith line. Yeah. So yeah, different philosophies that we should be able to see.
Yeah. The thing I'm probably most excited for is Rogue Squadron.
Yes.
It's going to be a movie. Mm-hmm. And I read all the Rogue Squadron books. I played all the video games. Listen, all they have to do, they could just take Top Gun, all right?
Right.
And just digitally edit out the F-14s and make them into X-Wings. And I'd call it a great movie. That's all they would have to do to like hook me in.
with Danger Zone. Yes. With Danger Zone. Yes, you got to have Danger Zone.
Listen, like, I'll play like some of like a game I've been playing lately is Star Wars Squadrons, which is
the stuff the CGI stuff, fantastic. I mean, it's like, oh man,
and like I'll throw that in the playlist that I listen to as I'm burning around with an X-wing, shooting down ties.
Gold leader to Maverick.
That's a negative, Maverick. We can't. You know, Patty Jenkins is directing that.
Yes. I saw the teaser she put out.
Yes,
it's definitely giving me some hope.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think we got Rangers of the New Republic, which I wonder if that's going to follow that one X-wing pilot who we kind of saw in the middle of the Mandalorian season.
The guy from what's the show he's on? He's in a show that's based in Canada. I have to look that up. It's a Korean guy.
Yes.
And he's in a show, you know.
Yeah, because I mean, like he seemed like he had some important job that was going on.
Yeah, he kept talking as well. Like, he wasn't just.
He wasn't just showing up. Yeah, he had like some important thing going on. I wonder if like maybe he's considered a ranger. Maybe that's his squad or something like that, or his title. Or I was thinking it's either going to be that, or like if they kind of stick with that whole like westerny vibe, like the Texas Rangers. These are the New Republic Rangers, so they might be like traveling law enforcement or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I do have a question about the final episode.
Yeah.
Now, the Dark Troopers, while they were punching at the door, they don't see Luke, but they stop and turn around when they know, before he's there. They stop punching the door quite early on, pretty much as soon as he enters the ship. How do the Dark Troopers that are in that hallway, that are nowhere near the other Dark Troopers, how do they know he's coming? I was like, well, if they kept punching at the door for another 10 seconds, Luke is walking pretty slow. You're nearly through.
Taking his time.
He's doing all kinds of stuff. He's showing off every move he has.
Getting on elevators.
But they would have got through the door. Like, I think they were probably, maybe 2 hits from getting through.
Right, yeah.
So what is the reasoning for that timing? It doesn't seem right. They could just say, oh, he's here. Like, there must have been something to trigger that. Do you know what I mean? I want to understand that.
The only thing I could assume would be like, because they're droids all kind of like linked together in some kind of like neural kind of thing. But yeah, they don't obviously go into that one. I don't believe they went into that.
Yeah, I would like that explained to me, because I just feel like it was too. They were let off the hook too easy. Like, really, they would have been going, we're going to hold him off, get through the door, and save. Like, obviously, Moff Gideon is their master. Like, he's commanding them. Like, their priority would be not to wait for Luke to get there. It'd be to protect Moff Gideon, and not just sit there and go, I'll turn around and wait for Luke to get here first, try and kill him, and then go through the doors. Like, it wouldn't, like, it didn't make sense to me. It just felt like filler, just like to add to like a little bit of like. But I did love it when they did turn around and wait for him. I'd liked it, but I would like to have known why.
If they wouldn't have, we wouldn't have gotten that cool hallway scene. So
yeah, that's true. And the music was cool too. The music, I am like, it could have been Mace, Ezra, or Luke, and all 3 of them I was cool with. No, I did love that it was Luke as well, and I did think the CGI was pretty decent for a TV show to be doing that. It's like a movie.
Disney has deep pockets, so that's a good thing. The one thing I had seen about that was that we're going to assume that I keep wanting to say Death Troopers, that the Dark Troopers have like a proximity a detection system. So when, obviously they would be able to scan and determine there's some sort of human life form or some sort of life form. So they knew Moff Gideon was there. So it could be a good, reasonable explanation that someone's coming up behind them. They need to at least turn and face. Deal with this. So that's not completely unreasonable.
That's fair. That's I'm details. Like, I can't deal with them just going, oh, we just spun around for the sake of adding to the suspense of Luke coming in. Do you know what I mean? That's too easy for me. I need someone to write down. Hey, look, they knew he was there. They knew that Moff Gideon was alive. They went in protection mode.
From your dad.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I love looking into the small details. I think with this, I love that you can, though. That's the best thing about Star Wars, isn't it? And Lord of the Rings is the same for me. You can go back thousands of years in history, and it should, in my opinion, it should be well thought out enough to all perfectly add up, which is why I don't like the new trilogy.
You've got not as much to grind.
Not as much that crunchy detail there.
We should do a hate session on them, and I should do a hate session. I should do a hate session on them, and you two can tell me all the good things you like about it. But I've got nothing.
I can sense your anger. Yes, I feel your anger.
I have nothing for it.
That would have to be a whole other episode. So that's a whole lot of stuff to get into.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, it's funny because it's different type of anger. Like, for example, something really bad happens to you. You're like, oh man, I hate that, But this is something that you really like. That is turned you like, I just can't think of. To you, like, that didn't happen. It just.
That's how I see it. I cut that out. Like, and that's why I like the Mandalorian even more, because now I've seen Luke in his heyday. I can forget. In my personal life, I don't know what movies you're talking about, because in my head, it just finished after Return of the Jedi. Like, that was it. Like, there's nothing more.
Well, imagine if like when Luke is like reaching his hands out for Baby Yoda, and then all of a sudden he pulls the Last Jedi, just throws it over his shoulder.
He would have kicked his TV into the wall. That would have. He would have written Disney and said, "You owe me a new flat screen TV." I just practically murdered mine. Yeah, I could. It's kind of like a friend of mine who, in addition to liking Star Wars, Star Trek as well, is a huge Star Trek fan. And I always tell him, "Yep, my favorite movie is Nemesis, which is the Last Jedi version of Star Trek." And he's just like, "If you bring up Nemesis again," I'm like, "I'm going to buy you the Blu-ray. Would you gift wrap this thing for you?" And even though I've threatened that, I've never done it because I'm like, yeah, he really hates that. I couldn't do that.
I just think that the laziness of the writing has now led to you going, well, surely Grogu must die in Luke's Jedi temple of, his training academy.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Oh,
that's immediately go, oh God, well, that's what happens because, obviously they all die. So what's the point of even saving him in the first place? Like, why are we even watching this?
Now my day's all bugged out, man. I didn't even think about that. Damn it.
I pointed out to some friends. I go, because I'll be honest, I was actually not a Baby Yoda fan.
Mm-hmm.
Like
he's cute and everything. Yeah.
Like for me, it's like listen, like he's a walking toy commercial to sell plushies, but. True. It sold a whole lot of plushies, so it definitely worked.
It sold a lot, trust me.
I'm thinking like is every other episode going to be him having to like look for a babysitter while he goes and does something cool? Luckily, it did not turn out that way.
Right.
So I am happy with how they did it. I imagine like they're not going to like allow Grogu to die off camera to Kylo Ren's attack. Like, it's another chance for a new series. They might actually do a Luke series that gets into that.
Yeah.
It just cancels that out. It was all a bad dream.
Let's go with tried and true lazy writing. Time travel, bad dream. Let's just go completely. But yeah, I see that. I see what you mean. It's like I had not thought about that until you said it. That wow, he would be part of this new academy.
Yeah.
What happened with everybody in the academy? They either died or they became.
And I think like The Force Awakens is only like 30 years away, so he's probably not going to be much different looking.
Well, yeah, he's going to be 80, so that's young for
Kylo
him.
just like fastballs him into the wall,
just tears him in half.
Man.
Yeah, I'm not feeling that story. I'm not. I don't want that to happen. That needs to be explained for me.
Yeah. Speaking of, you know what? Totally 2020 in this thing. Think about the losses that you have with Mandalorian. Mando lost his ship, which obviously is a toy, and once he gets a new ship, you'll have another toy that will come out. But I didn't expect that.
No, I did not.
I completely blasted off the map. Like, oh.
Yeah.
And who knew the Slave One could had such spacious compartments?
Yeah. Like Slave One, like especially when it was flying over the Lambda shuttle, I'm like, this looks really big.
Looks like 4 people tops maybe fit in there. Yeah. But yeah, I guess.
I thought like more than the Razor Crest, I was more bummed that he lost his blaster rifle.
Oh yeah, the really cool.
Yes.
The thing that doesn't look like it should be a rifle, but it is one.
Yeah.
It makes people go up and smoke.
That is crazy.
Like I hope he gets another one of those.
That's in War of the Worlds, isn't it? That ship that does it in War of the Worlds, and it's like hitting people in their clothes, just like fall on the floor, like
And that was the original weapon when Boba Fett appeared in that
from the holiday
cartoon.
special.
Yeah, from the holiday special. So it looks like, wait a minute. How does that thing actually shoot? It doesn't have a barrel, and all of a sudden, like, oh, but it makes people vaporize. I'm in. Okay, I'm good. I accept that. But yeah, hopefully he gets another one of those. So I think Craig, you had kind of asked about this. I think you're going to retake a Mandalore. You're obviously going to have to hash out that potential beef between Mando and Bo-Katan. You can see the glee in Moff Gideon's eyes. You just can't give it. He's like, okay, I yield here. He literally tried to Jon Snow.
I love that.
He tried to Jon Snow. Hey, look, you know what? Don't want it. No, you just can't give it away. What do you mean? I'm giving it to you. I'm the king. Here, take it. And it's like, yeah, you can't give it away. And it's like, All right, we're going to put a pin in this and come back to it later.
How serious does the fight need to be for you to count it as a loss?
Exactly the same thing. You know, like injury timeout
to you.
Does it know how?
Gotta
does it know how hard you're trying? Like,
it's gotta be real enough.
So something about that, like Bo-Katan when we first met her calls him an extremist.
Yeah,
because he doesn't take his helmet off. But yet she won't take the symbol of her people without ritualistic combat.
You know what?
Talk about the pot called kettle black.
Where is Bill Burr when you need him? Talk her down, please. Tell her it's okay. I mean, look, there's two of us here that really know what's going on. You can go back to your people, say,
you can tell me you whoop my ass. I'll agree.
And I've got this new cool Darksaber, and now let's
turn it on, though? Can you turn on the blade without owning it?
Yeah, it's like a normal lightsaber.
Yeah, it's just it's a lightsaber in the shape of a katana.
Yes.
Yeah, it's cool. But I mean, if you haven't earned it, can you turn it on?
Yeah, so it's not like
so you can still use it. So
yeah, because Moff Gideon was using it. So
yeah.
So there's no reason really she can't just take it.
All right, I can see what you're saying. If the blade reacted to power, so let's not think of Thor's hammer in terms of worthiness for this thing. Like you have to be a good person, blah blah blah. Got to lift it up. If this was like, if you're worthy of power, meaning you took things. Obviously, he had something to do with the fall of Mandalore, so that's a power move. That good or bad, that's a power move. Bo-Katan is the rightful ruler, power move. Mando just defeated him, power move. So if it would only turn on if you were a ruler or potential to be ruler, I can see what you're going with, but I think it's just a regular old flip the switch and blades on.
I think, yeah.
But I can see what you're thinking.
It's like Harry Potter, isn't it? They have the Elder Wand, and I think I've lost you too.
Yeah, Ben, you still here, Ben?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah.
Craig froze for a second. Yeah, his bars turned red for a second.
Oh no.
And he's
talking about Harry Potter stuff.
There he is. I was just saying, he became one with the Force.
I'm back. Yeah, no, in Harry Potter they have the Elder Wand, and you have to win that by combat, and it doesn't work for you. It works, but it doesn't work. It malfunctions.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think Gideon even mentions he goes. The power isn't in the blade; it's in the story of it. Because the Mandalorians they're very like combat oriented creed, and it sounds like they're going to follow strength, and like if they hear that she just won it in a rock paper scissors match, they're probably not going to think that she's much of a leader.
Hey, if they're taking bids for a new series, why not let's talk about how you become a Mandalorian and all your training and everything during that time, like the Mandalorian Academy. Let's get to that.
Anything Mandalorian related, man, I'm down for it.
Kick over that rock and let's see.
That's always been one of my favorite parts of the Star Wars lore was the Mandalorians.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I loved when they went into it in the KOTOR games and all that kind of stuff. Oh, yeah.
There's so much there, and as Greg is right under his indoor poster that's perfectly placed right above his head.
Oh yeah.
I noticed that right away. I was like, yes, it does say indoor. Okay, all right, I got you.
Man, let me try and get that. Come on,
the propaganda joining the empire.
Look, there's fascist propaganda in this house.
I was looking at something earlier. It was talking about 12 reasons why. I was sent over to 12 reasons why the empire was good and the rebellion was bad. And it was actually pretty interesting when they went into
start making
detail.
Good points, huh?
Yeah, you start thinking, hang on a minute here.
They're like, wait a minute, maybe.
There's plenty of planets out there. What's one or two blown up planets? I mean, come on.
By destroying, they may have destroyed Alderaan and etc. But they did stop the original war, which in theory, when you balance it out, was a couple 100 million compared to a few trillion.
if you think about it, it was the nuclear weapon. This was the Nagasaki or Hiroshima of the universe. And the one thing you just reminded me of that. How ballsy was it that guy's like, oh, I see your tattoo. So you're from Alderaan. Yeah, I was there that day, man. Yeah, I pulled the trigger. I was like, dude, she got a blast upon your face, and you up there bragging like, oh yeah, man, we just cooked that whole planet. Just nobody left. And you could tell it's bothering her. She's just like, F you, man. Just And what happened is what you expected to happen.
Yes, yeah.
She's gonna take the shot.
And I'm talking like the series is just filled with little moments like that. That again, that just helps that world building. It makes it real.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
The other one would be for me, Bill Burr talking to that commander, like, yeah, but what about those guys that we lost that day? That's okay. We did it for the glory of the empire. But yeah, but what about their families? And you could just see him just like, I know he lost friends, and he's sitting there thinking, he's probably reliving it, and he's like, yep, that guy's got to die. I don't care if we're surrounded by every stormtrooper in the world. He's going to die right now.
And it adds that kind of like Nazi sort of feel to the empire as well, doesn't it? That whole like, dark fascist sort of like mentality they have. Like, I love that. I like it.
There's been that comparison of just with the stormtroopers in itself and the way you took over. Well, obviously we had the explainer through the first 3 movies of this very deep, very, very grand plan of Sidious and Emperor Palpatine, of like how he played everybody against each other, and then all in one swoop, boom, he's there, he's in power. But yeah, it's like, there was a hidden plan there. As Yoda said, there's something here we don't see. Something's happening and we're totally missing it. And boom, you flip the script and everybody's here. But yeah, it's you saw it, like, so you saw that grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's just like they have the right people in place that are really just filling out the backstory and the lore and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson were the people to do it. I do have names again. They're like Voldemort, he who shall not be named. But like Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, the team those guys have,
super fans.
I have all the faith in the world for those guys, man.
Yeah.
But here's what I think about that. So, for example, J.J. Abrams did what he did for Star Trek. I liked Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto, et cetera. I loved it, updated. In fact, I think you may have seen that. Brooklyn, who was in here earlier, she asked to go back and watch the original Star Trek series, and I'm like, okay, we're going to do this and everything. She was like, yeah, I want to start and watch with you, Daddy. I'm like, great, this is definitely my kid.
Yeah.
You see this. So, but he did that, and with taking on such a franchise, there's a lot of pressure.
A ton.
There's a lot of pressure. So you can see that with J.J. Abrams. It's like, everybody's like, hey, this is great. Congratulations. Don't you go screw this up now, right? But Favreau and God, I can't remember the other guy's name. Terrible.
Dave Filoni.
Thank Dave Filoni. They look like they're like, all right, yeah, you know what? We accept that, but they're having fun with it. They're like the meme you've seen of these 2 kids playing with the AT-AT Walker.
Yes.
That's what they're looking at. They're like, we know it's a lot of pressure and everything, but yet we have so many stories to tell, and we're having fun with it, that there is no pressure.
It feels like they're super fans.
They could be, exactly, they could be so loose with it. It's like,
have you
give us more.
Have you watched it's on Disney Plus. They have the making of season 1 where you can get a real insight to
I watched one episode
how much
of
they
it,
love it,
but it's so good, and the technology they used to make things kick out. So
and you see the different directors they have in each episode, and the first is really cool to. And it's amazing how they seem to have their own. They put their own stamp on it, but still kept.
That's
they
exactly.
just kept it the way. Yeah.
It's kind of what Marvel does when you have different directors. They're like, look, this is the story we want to tell. So here's an outline. But like Taika Waititi, who did Thor 3, and he puts his own, kind of little funny, zany spin on it, or James Gunn with Guardians, there's certain things they wouldn't let directors do. They're like, we still have to get to here. How you get there is your story. And obviously they're like, okay, we're going to start off, we're going to kill everybody. I'm like, no. Back it up a little bit. Like the original in the Legends when they killed Chewbacca. All that stuff had to go up to Lucas. For even if it was a book.
Yeah,
he's got to approve that, and their whole approval cycle for novels and everything. He went through it, and there are people that wrote stuff, and they're like, yeah, we kind of don't like that, so you gotta take it out. I mean, Lucas himself was so protective over the Yoda species, that you had Yoda, Yaddle, and now Grogu, that he has not defined what they're called, where they're from, and even like that. So he's kept it really close to the vest.
So. If Dave Filoni couldn't even believe that he got the job when he went to the interview, like,
can you imagine, like what?
He had to prove his like incredible like fanness to even get. Like, I think he was really surprised that he got the
gig.
The job. Yeah.
How scared would you be that you were going to screw that up? If you were going to go into to go through the doors and basically tap dance for your life,
he said he approached it in the way where he didn't even think about the job. He was just like, oh my God, I'm sitting here like talking about
he was in the moment, just like this is
this. I just want to talk to them about it. Like, I just want to be in the room here and just like speak about it. And then I think they obviously caught his enthusiasm quite quickly, which was a genius move. But my God, like, imagine if they picked someone else.
Again, another going back to the Darth Vader voice, and I mean, and then you hear about these tales that come up later, like, hey, back when they cast this, they originally wanted Tom Selleck to do the role of Indiana Jones, and he didn't want to come off vacation in Hawaii, so they picked Harrison Ford. And now you can't imagine that character. Yeah. He is Harrison Ford. So it's like those are the right moves by the right people at the right time.
Exactly. Yes.
I think, and Star Wars has needed it for a long time. They've needed to pick something like they needed to make a right decision, because they haven't, like you see it with other series, but like you just said there, in the modern era, Star Wars hasn't made the choices. I think that people would say someone owned a character, like with the exception maybe like Mace Windu. Like, I don't look back at the prequel. I didn't look back at the prequels and go, oh, someone owned a character to the point where I could never see someone else playing them. Like, I like the Clone Wars Anakin much better than the Anakin in the movies, for example. You know, he didn't take that part and be like, oh, like, you know, I don't sit there going, oh my God, how they got someone else playing him? Like, I could probably sit there for a fair amount of Star Wars characters from the prequels and go, oh yeah, they could switch any of them characters up. And no, I wouldn't have any problem with it.
Yeah.
Particularly Anakin, I found him annoying, but then again, I think he was written quite badly as well.
Yeah, I tell you, man, I do. I think we are, you know, like you know, we're kind of in like, you know, the new golden age of Star Wars. I think, you know, the future is bright. You know, I think we have the right people at the right time in the right place working on the right projects. You know, and I do, man, I'm really excited to see where it goes. And you know, I think that's a good place to kind of wrap it up and end it on. I know, like we could all sit here and
talk hours.
We can talk
hours, man. Like I said, next WKC or something.
Yes, we have to.
Down and just pow out. Hopefully, but by then we'll have another season, or we'll have more stuff that have, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I tell me, like, I'd love to have you guys on again. We can talk about some more. You know, maybe some more of these shows come out and stuff like that. And
I don't get too
many opportunities to like nerd out about Star Wars with people.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on and giving me some of your time. And for those of you guys who are listening and sticking with us, I appreciate all of you guys. I hope you guys have a fantastic Christmas and holidays and New Year and all that stuff. And everyone stay safe. We will see you guys next time.